Hello guys, True here, back with another video. I hope all of you guys are having a fantastic day. Before we get into today's deck, please remember to like and subscribe. Let's get to 75 subscribers, and while you're at it, please remember to drop a like on today's video. Really helps this video to get shared with other people. And without further ado, let's get into today's deck. So today's deck is on a standard version of Shock Lock, which is basically a deck that was back in the day where basically you paralyzed your opponent in the active and basically made it to where they cannot retreat, hence the name Shock Lock, meaning locking your opponent in the active, and because they're paralyzed, they're shocked. And how do we recreate this in standard? Well, we use Cryogonal's Attack Frozen Lock. Your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand during their next turn, meaning popular cards like Switch, Escape Board, Scoop Up Net, they cannot play. And in order to paralyze our opponent, we use Dustox, which is unfortunately a stage 2, but Hazardous Evolution is such a good ability that we can make an exception. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon paralyzed and poisoned. If you do, put 3 damage counters instead of 1 on that Pokemon between turns. So not only are we paralyzing our opponent, we are putting 3 damage counters in between turns, which is basically 60 damage. And with Cryogonal's Frozen Lock, we're also hitting them for 10 damage, so basically 70 damage on our opponent's active Pokemon, which sort of sounds underwhelming, but when our opponent's Dragapult VMAX, when our opponent's Pikachu and Zekrom cannot move out of the active position, we are guaranteed 3 prize cards, and our opponent cannot do anything about it. So in order to set up quickly, we play 2 Jirachis. With that Stellar Wish ability, really helps us set up, getting out our Quick Balls, getting out our Turffield Stadiums. And we also play one of Zigzagoon with Headbutt Tantrum. Basically, any deck with Scoop Up Net, almost every deck with Scoop Up Net plays Galarian Zigzagoon. And in order to help build up damage on our opponent's active Pokemon, we do use Galarian Zigzagoon. And of course, we play 4D Devolution Spray. This allows us to de-evolve our Dustox into a Cascoon, and thanks to Turffield Stadium, we can just search our deck for the Dustox and put it right back into our hand. We play one of Ordinary Rod to recover our Cryogonals in case they ever get knocked out. We play 4 Quick Balls, 4 Scoop Up Nets, 4 Super Scoop Ups. Pretty straightforward. For a deck like this, we play one of Boss's Orders in case we ever need to take a last 1 prizer on our opponent's Jirachi or Galarian Zigzagoon. We can Boss's Orders that up and take a quick knockout because our opponent cannot Scoop Up Net it or switch it from the active. Now our opponent can use Mallow and Lana, which is the one main weakness to this deck. If our opponent plays a lot of Mallow and Lana, there is a likely chance that we will lose. But our opponent still has to find their Mallow and Lanas, which in most decks is usually a one of. So we have that going for us. We play 4 Cynthia and Caitlin, and 4 Marnie as our draw support. The reason we don't play something more consistent like a research is because we don't want to discard many cards from this deck. We want to maintain our Wurmples, our Cascoons, and our Dustoxes. And most of the times we end up with these evolution lines in our hand, and we don't want to research them away. We play one of Grimsley to help out adjust damage, and to get more value from the Hazardous Evolution ability. Sometimes a Pokemon might die with let's say a Dragapult VMAX has 320 HP, and since Hazardous Evolution, the poison damage does 3 damage counters in between turns. The opponent's Dragapult VMAX is at 300 HP and has 20 HP remaining. We can use Grimsley to move 1 damage counter to one of our opponent's bench, let's say Jirachi, and then we can get more value out of our damage counters using that Grimsley. We have one of Escape Board for those Jirachis, and we play 6 Water Energies to help us find them as fast as possible. And yeah, that's all I have to say for the deck, and let's get into some games. Alright, so hopping into our first game against Fidu14. Good luck to him or her. And let's for the coin flip, let's call heads. And we do win the coin flip, so we will opt to go first. Normally on turn 1, we do want to get out our Cascoons And yeah, let's see what we start off with. Nothing too great, but our opponent is taking a mulligan, plus we have a top deck to work with, so let's see if we can get something like a quick ball, or a Wurmple itself would be very nice. So our opponent takes one mulligan, and it looks like we are up against Dragapult V Max. That's what I'm assuming. Most psychic decks these days, they're Dragapult V Max, unless they're playing a rogue baby Dragapult deck. So let's draw a card. It is a Ditto Prism Star, so that is very nice for us. And we do top deck that Cascoon, so here we can bench the Ditto, attach to the Cryogonal, and just pass over to our opponent. Not a whole lot going for us this first turn, but we did manage to draw into that Ditto, which is very nice for us. There's a Shrine of Punishment from our opponent, that's fine. It's very nice that they threw this out early, so we can bump it with our Turffield. Our opponent's deck most likely only plays 2 Shrine of Punishment, and we play 4 Turffield Stadium, so we should easily win that Stadium War, especially the fact that they put out the Shrine of Punishment this early. So our opponent is going to grab a Dragapult V, attach an energy to it most likely. Yep, there's the energy from our opponent. There's a quick ball. They might grab a Dedenne here if they don't have anything in their hand going for them. There's the Dedenne GX from our opponent. That's actually going to really help us out by building damage on it. And there's the Scoop Up Net from our opponent. Probably going to promote this Jirachi. Yep. And bench the other Jirachi and Dedenne GX their hand away for 6 new cards. It's good for us that they got rid of a boss's orders. Dragapult VMAX usually plays 3, which means we only have to work around 2 now. So that's pretty nice for us. There's an Acrobike from our opponent. Honestly, our opponent probably could have boss's orders our Ditto, and punched us with Bite, and if they managed to draw into a Galarian Zigzagoon, they could have knocked out our Ditto, which would have been pretty bad for us. So our opponent does play the Malamar build of Dragapult VMAX, so their deck is slightly less consistent. So let's see if our opponent hits us with the Marnie, or if they play a Research themselves. They're down 2 Marnie already, so that's pretty nice for us. There's another Acrobike from our opponent. Seems like they're digging for something. They get rid of a Horror Psychic Energy, which is pretty nice for us. There's the Escape Board to the active. They retreat into this Dragapult V. Do they have the boss's orders in hand? No, just the Bite from our opponent is going to be what our opponent does, which is pretty nice for us. We top deck a Cynthia. Not great. Let's Cynthia this hand away, and we're looking for more Wurmples. No, this hand is not looking ideal at all. Yeah, we're sort of bricking, so I don't mind our opponent Shrine staying in play. I think I will hold on to these Turffield Stadiums, and plus our opponent's Dedenne is taking more damage at the same time. So here I think I will just have to go with that Frozen Lock and hope for the best. Hope our opponent whiffs the Dragapult VMAX and the energy attachment. But from them getting rid of Horror Psychic Energy, I can only assume they have an energy attachment in hand. And there's the Dragapult VMAX from our opponent. So now we're in a little bit of a pickle. Things are not looking great for us. We are sort of bricking, which is something that can happen with this deck. And there's the Max Phantom from our opponent, going to be putting 5 damage counters on the Cascoon. And the only thing we can do here is hit our opponent. There's a Super Scoop Up that's not gonna do it. We can use Turffield Stadium, get out a Dustox, but there's not a whole else we can do. They need a switch anyways. So if we brought up something, it wouldn't be much use with boss's orders. So let's just evolve into Dustox, use Hazardous Evolution, and pass over to our opponent and hope they do not have game in hand the following turn. And even if they don't have game in hand, it's still looking really bad for us because we don't have a way to paralyze them again, unfortunately. And there's the Escape Board on the Dragapult VMAX, unfortunately. Yeah, we just bricked a little this game, which can happen with this deck. There's the Scoop Up Net on the Jirachi, and we will be taking an L in the first game, unfortunately, to a Dragapult VMAX deck. And yeah, let's see if we can catch a dub in the second game, and I'll see you guys there. Alright, so hopping into our next game against Ordinary. Good luck to him or her, and we do opt to go first again. So let's see if we can get a strong starting hand. No way to get out a Wurmple, unfortunately. So we start with the Cryogonal, which isn't terrible, but the rest of this hand is not great. Let's see what our opponent is playing. We are up against a Zacian deck, it seems like. So here, I'm just going to attach to the Cryogonal, and I think I will just pass over to our opponent. Due to the Dragon deck box, I'm assuming we're up against ADP Zacian. I would not be surprised if we were. There's a Chaotic Swell from our opponent, which sucks, meaning we cannot throw down our Turffield Stadium. It makes it more difficult for us to utilize our Turffield Stadium. So they Acrobite, get rid of a switch. There's a Crushing Hammer from our opponent, and it hits tails, which is nice for us. There's an Energy Spinner. So yeah, this seems like it's ADP. They're going to be able to utilize Energy Spinner here, get out 3 energy cards. No, just 2 by the looks of it. Let's see what our opponent has going for them. There's a Tag Call. So it seems like we're not up against Turbo ADP with Order Pads. It seems like we're up against a more slower build of ADP. So there's an Arceus Dialga Palkia from our opponent. So they're probably going to bench it, attach the Water Energy, and probably just research the hand away, I would imagine. There's the Quick Ball, so that can grab them a Dedenne GX if they decide to do so, or a Jirachi. There's the Oranguru from our opponent, which is fine. Yeah, this hand is just not looking good for us. There's the Marnie from our opponent, thank goodness. So now we get a brand new hand to work with. Not a whole lot, however. There's another Crushing Hammer from our opponent. We need this to hit a tails. No, it hits heads, unfortunately. So now our Cryogonal sort of stuck in the active. We need a top deck. A Draw Supporter would be nice. A Water Energy would also work. There's the Metal Saucer from our opponent onto this Zacian V, and just the Intrepid Sword from our opponent. So let's see what we... Marnie is our top deck, which is super nice. So here, I will Quick Ball away the boss's orders. I will grab out a Wurmple here. It would have been nice to have that next turn, but at least we got it out at turn 2. So here we will bench a Jirachi, bench the Wurmple, and Marnie our opponent. And here we draw into some nice cards. We whiff the item lock this turn, but that's okay. So here, bump the Chaotic Swell. I'm not really finding it necessary to retreat the Cryogonal this turn. We already have 2 Wurmples on the bench, so I will just pass to our opponent. I want to hold on to this Escape Board, and I probably should have just dropped it onto Jirachi, as our opponent does play Marnie. So yeah, a little bit of a misplay on my part. I should have attached it to the Jirachi last turn. So there's the attachment, the metal attachment to our opponent's Arceus Dialga Palkia. So they're probably going to be able to pull off that Altered Creation. Yeah, just really unfortunate that we whipped the Water Energy. We would have been able to item lock our opponent, make it so they could not play a switch and switch out of the active into this Arceus Dialga Palkia. So yeah, that sort of sucks, but it is what it is. So let's see what our opponent decides to do here. They're taking their time. If they pass here, or just Intrepid Sword, that would be really nice for us. There's a Quick Ball that can get them a Dedenne GX. They get rid of a Zacian. There's a Dedenne GX here from our opponent, so they're probably going to hit the switch here if they do not already have it in hand. There's the Dede Change. They get rid of a Research and the boss's orders. 2 cards that we definitely want to see our opponent get rid of. We do have to be aware that our opponent probably plays one of Mallow and Lana and just the Intrepid Sword from our opponent. That's super nice for us. So we're definitely still in this one. We can attach the Escape Board to the Jirachi, play the Turffield Stadium Cynthia. This hand, I probably should have Turffield Stadium before I Cynthia. That's a little bit of a missequence on my part. So here we can grab a Cascoon here with the Turffield Stadium. We can bench another Wurmple, and unfortunately we whiffed the Water Energy again, but it's fine because here we're practically guaranteed that that turn 3 item lock or shock lock on our opponent's ADP. And because our opponent whiffed the Altered Creation last turn, we're looking like we're in a good spot, because once they Altered Creation, we can lock them in the active. Our opponent probably plays Mallow and Lana, but it's likely a 1 of, along with Eldegoss, which would probably make it a 2 of. But we can but we can disrupt our opponent's big hand with Marnie the following turn, and hopefully make it so that they whiff. There's a Metal Frying Pan on this Station V. That's fine with me. That does not block Dustox Hazardous Evolution ability. It only blocks our Frozen Lock damage, which can sort of mess up the math. There's the switch from our opponent a turn late. Probably just going to probably just going to Altered Creation here. If they Ultimate Ray us, that's definitely a misplay on our opponent's side of the field. They play a Mew probably for the Pikarom matchup. That's not a card you see every day. And there's the Marnie from our opponent. That's fine with me. We were going to Marnie anyways. And here we draw into some cards. If they get another Chaotic Swell, that would definitely suck. So there's the Primate Wisdom from our opponent. Let's hope they whiff the Swell here. That would be super nice for us. And just the Ultimate Ray from our opponent. Again, I feel like that is a misplay. They probably and most definitely should have used Altered Creation last turn, because that would have put the pressure on us. And now we can still Shock Lock our opponent. So here, let's promote the Jirachi. Let's see what we draw. There's another Cascoon that's pretty good for us. Let's use Turffield Stadium. Thin out the deck before we play a Draw Supporter. Take the Dustox, evolve into the Dustox, and here we're really looking to Shock Lock our opponent. So I think here we hold off on benching the second Jirachi, and I think here we just Cynthia. We're really looking for some cards to work with. No Water Energy to work with again. This really sucks. So here, let's Quick Ball away on Marnie. Go for that Cryogonal, and we have 5 Water Energy left in deck, and we have yet to draw into. We have yet been able to draw into a second one. So let's Stellar Wish here. Probably take the De-Evolution Spray. De-Evolution Spray this Dustox. And yeah, just super unfortunate that we whiffed. That we whiffed the Water Energy. So here, I think I will Quick Ball away a Cynthia and Caitlin and go yet for another Jirachi. And Stellar Wish with this Jirachi. I think that feels like the optimal play to make. So let's Stellar Wish here. And at the same time, we are thinning our deck out of Jirachis, which is pretty nice for us. So here, I will hold off on using Ordinary Rod, and I will just pass to our opponent. If our opponent stays trapped in the active, that's really nice for us. I'm expecting a switch from our opponent, as they're only down 2. Our opponent likely plays 3 or 4. Yeah, there's a switch from our opponent, probably into this station. Yeah, unfortunately, we are unable to take a knockout. We were unable to trap this Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia in the active. But again, it's really nice that our opponent is not taking 2 prize cards. Instead, they are only taking 1. So that puts the pressure off of us, and just the Brave Blade from our opponent. So we definitely need to establish this lock now. We've whiffed for too many turns, and let's Marnie here. We're looking for a Water Energy. There's a Water Energy finally. Thank goodness. So let's Turffield Stadium here, grab out a Cascoon. Yeah, now we have the lot going for us. So let's Stellar Wish here. We can take another Turffield Stadium. I honestly wouldn't hate that, but I feel like another Super Scoop Up is pretty nice. So yeah, I will take this Super Scoop Up here. So we do want to hold on to our Scoop Up Nets. So using Super Scoop Ups are our priority first, and then we use our Scoop Up Nets, because Scoop Up Nets are guaranteed. So we definitely want to hold on to those. So here, let's evolve into Dustox. Let's use that Hazardous Evolution, and let's try a Super Scoop Up here. And we do hit Tails. Let's try another Super Scoop Up, and we hit Tails again. So we have to Scoop Up Net here. On this Dustox, let's bench the Wurmple, attach to Cryogonal, and we finally have the lock going for us. So here, let's Frozen Lock our opponent, and if our opponent has Mallow and Lana, that would be sort of unfortunate. Yeah, that would put the pressure on us. Let's check our discard pile. We're not down a whole lot of ways to reuse Dustox Hazardous Evolution ability. We're only down 1 De-Evolution Spray, 2 Super Scoop Ups, and 1 Scoop Up Net. So we have been conserving our resources pretty well, I would say, this game. So let's see if our opponent has that Mallow and Lana in hand. There is the Primate Wisdom from our opponent. So here we're definitely looking to grab to get our second Cynthia and Caitlin, and be able. And there's just the Intrepid Storm from our opponent. We definitely want to get out a Cynthia and Caitlin again to be able to get back this boss's orders and bring up this Arceus Dialga Palkia and knock it out. Our opponent is likely just going to we're going to KO this station. They'll probably attack with this station. We'll knock out this station, and then we want the boss's orders bring up this Dedenne because it has the lowest amount of HP. So we definitely want to do that. So here, let's evolve into Dustox. Let's leave our opponent paralyzed once more. Do I want to Galarian Zigzagoon is the question. So here, it won't really make a difference, I think. So our opponent is going to be at, in increments of 3, our opponent is going to be at 210 health. So actually Galarian Zigzagoon will make a difference. So here, let's bench the Galarian Zigzagoon, punch the Zacian in the active. Let's Marnie our opponent's big hand away. And here we do draw into a Super Scoop Up, but no actual definite way to recover this Dustox. So this needs to hit a heads. It is a tails, unfortunately, but fortunately for us, we have one left in deck. We have a good number of Scoop Up Nets left in deck, as well as the Devolution Sprays, so we need to hit those as soon as possible. Let's thin out the deck by getting out this Dustox here, and just Frozen Lock our opponent once more. So we're looking to knock out this Zacian V in a few turns. To be honest, I don't know why they would Intrepid Sword with this Zacian. I feel like they should have Intrepid Sworded with this Zacian, because this thing's probably going to die no matter what, and if they do manage to hit a Mallow and Lana, they would have been able to attach the energy onto this Zacian, Mallowed and Lana this Zacian to the bench and retreated, and they only would have needed an attachment to be able to power up this Zacian to its maximum potential as well. So there's the research from our opponent. That is not a Mallow and Lana, so I'm fine with that research from our opponent, and our opponent could potentially deck out before we take 6 prize cards. So we do have to keep that in mind as well. If they carelessly play another research, that can be another win condition for us as well. So we do have to look out for that. And just the pass from our opponent, no Intrepid Sword. It appears that our opponent has realized that they have a chance of decking out sooner or later. So let's evolve into this Dustox here and leave our opponent paralyzed once more. And if we do somehow, no, we still need to hit a way to de-evolve our Dustox. So let's Cynthia here. We're looking for, there's a Scoop Up Net. Thank goodness. So let's Scoop Up Net this Dustox here. Put it into our hand. Bench the Wurmple once more. And we have no draw supporter in our hand, which sort of sucks. So let's Turffield Stadium. There's nothing left in deck. That is something to note. No other grass Pokemon in deck. So let's Frozen Lock our opponent again. And yeah, things are going pretty well for us. We will be taking a knockout on this Zacian soon. So I think I actually hold off on evolving the Dustox the following turn because our opponent's Zacian does get knocked out going back into their turn. So there's the Mallow and Lana from our opponent. That's super unfortunate. That's not what we wanted to see. That's going to set us back so much. Let's see if our opponent decides to alter creation. No, just the ultimate ray from our opponent. So we are sort of running low on resources. I will not lie. But here we can promote the Jirachi. We can use that Stellar Wish. There's a Grimsley, so that's pretty nice. Let's Stellar Wish here. Take the Devolution Spray. Again, we want to hold on to that remaining Scoop Up Net as much as possible. So let's evolve into Cascoon here. Let's bench the Cryogonal. Let's attach to the Cryogonal. Let's evolve into Dustox here. Leave our opponent paralyzed and poisoned. Let's De-Evolution Spray this Dustox. Put it back into the deck. Say done. Let's use Turffield Stadium to get out the Dustox once more. And the chances of our opponent playing 2 Mallow and Lana are pretty low. So here, let's Frozen Lock our opponent and hope they stay item locked. And hope this ADP stays in the act. Our opponent draws here. Again, we could potentially deck out our opponent. That's definitely something we can look to do. So let's see if we are able to do so. So there's the Primate Wisdom from our opponent. going to be seeing a new card. Our opponent's down 3 research, so they probably still have 1 left in deck. They are down 2 Marnies. There's the Eldegoss from our opponent. They're going to be able to get back their Mallow and Lana once more. That sucks. That really stinks. For sure, our opponent being able to utilize Mallow and Lana more than once in this matchup really sucks for us. So they get rid of an ADP and a Metal Saucer, and they go into this healthyization. So there's the Brave Blade once more from our opponent. See, our opponent would have won the game already had they used Altered Creation. So I really don't understand our opponent's way of playing this game. But you know, our opponent, they can do whatever they want. So let's Stellar Wish here. I think here we take the De-Evolution Spray, but no way to get a Water Energy into our hand, unfortunately. So no, I was digging for our remaining Cynthia and Caitlin, but it seems as though we failed to hit that. So here I will Ordinary Rod, shuffle back in 2 Cryogonals, I guess, and 2 Water Energy. Feels fine with me. Here, let's Quick Ball away this Ditto Prism Star. We can get out this Cryogonal here, but by the looks of it, it's still not looking very good for us. So here we can still paralyze and poison our opponent. We can De-Evolution Spray, put this Dustox back into the deck. Hit done, and here we can get it out once more using Turffield Stadium. But this still leaves us in a pretty bad spot. So here, I will promote the Galarian Zigzagoon since our opponent probably has a switch in hand. I definitely could see that happening. So let's see what our opponent has going for them. They're at 6 cards in deck. That's still a good bit of cards left for our opponent. Yeah, so they're only down 3 switch. I would not be shocked if there's a big charm from our opponent, making it even harder for us to knock out this Station B, unfortunately. And it looks like we're probably going to be taking an L here. I really don't see us winning this game. There's the Primate Wisdom from our opponent, and we're down to our remaining Scoop Up Net and the Evolution Spray, because we have been unable to take prize cards this game. There's a switch from our opponent into this Arceus Dialga. Do they have the boss's orders on this Jirachi? No, they do not. So here, let's hope. I don't see us locking our opponent for 6 turns in a row. That almost feels impossible. So let's see what our top deck is. Let's Stellar Wish here. And here it looks like we do whiff the Cynthia and Caitlin again, and we will be taking an L in this second game. Unfortunately, our opponent being able to abuse this Eldegoss so much and prevented us from taking prize cards just really hurt us this game, and that's gonna do it. And I'm just going to concede here. We lose the game. We have no way. I guess here we could potentially lock our opponent, so I won't give up quite yet. But our opponent here, we're almost out of resources, and the chances of our opponent, I guess they are out of ways to attack. I guess that's, I suppose, because they're down 4 switches, they're down their Eldegoss, and they're down their 1 Mallow and Lana. Let's look at the deck again. Yeah, our Cynthia and Caitlin is there. We just have been unable to hit it. So let's just pass over to our opponent. Let's see if they play a second Mallow and Lana. And yeah, also pricing 2 Dustox this game really hurt us as well. Yeah, super unfortunate that we were unable to we also whiffed the Water Energy so many turns, and yet we did get pretty close, I would say, to winning this game, had our opponent not been able to hit the Mallow and Lanas as often as they did. So there's the Primate Wisdom from our opponent. They're down to 5 cards in deck, but that's still plenty of cards to work with here. Unfortunately, we can try to trap this Oranguru in the active, I suppose. There's a Cynthia and Caitlin finally, but we need to hit a De-Evolution Spray, I believe. So let's Cynthia and Caitlin here, put the Turffield Stadium back on the, let's put the Turffield Stadium in the bin. Let's take the boss's orders. Let's see if we hit a De-Evolution Spray here. No De-Evolution Spray. Let's Stellar Wish. There is the De-Evolution Spray. So here, I will De-Evolution Spray, put the Dustox, and the Cascoon back into the deck just to make our deck slightly more thick than our opponent. Let's Turffield Stadium. actually that was a misplay on my part, because now we can't utilize the shock next turn. But I suppose it wouldn't have really made a difference, because we're looking to boss's orders bring this up to Rangaroo the next turn. We're not really looking to knock out this Dialga and Palkia, so it wasn't really much of a major misplay on my part. So here, let's take this Dustox here. Let's evolve into it. We don't even really need to go in with Cryogonal per se, because our opponent is down all of their switches, but I guess it's not a terrible thing to do, so I will go ahead and Frozen Lock our opponent. And we're looking to deck our opponent out at this point. It's definitely possible we can still win, it's just highly unlikely. We need to hope our opponent is out of energy, which they have played a solid number of. That's our only hope. So there's the Primate Wisdom again from our opponent. Let's see what they have going for them. They're down to a 4-card deck, and just a pass from our opponent. So here we go. This turn we're going to Boss's Orders. There's a Scoop Up Net. Okay, so we have that going for us. Let's Turffield Stadium here. Have a look at what we have left in the deck. We do not want to take out this Cascoon, because that would make it. We actually could take out the Cascoon. That wouldn't hurt us. But I will just leave it in the deck just to be safe, in case our opponent has some way of recovering cards. So here, let's Scoop Up Net this Dustox on the bench here. Let's evolve into Cascoon. We can bench the. We can hold off on benching the Wurmple. Let's Boss's. Do I want to bench? No, I'm gonna hold off on doing it. So here, let's Boss's Orders. Bring up this Rangaroo. And here we can just Frozen Lock our opponent and hope they don't have the energy remaining to retreat their Rangaroo. That's basically our only hope left as we go along in this game. So let's hope our opponent whiffs the attachment here. They're out of all of their switches. They're out of all of their Mallow and Lanas, I would assume. They're out of their Eldegosses, and just a pass from our opponent. That gives me a sign of hope. I'm not going to evolve into this Dustox because we don't want to knock out this Rangaroo. Let's Frozen Lock again. Yeah, we're still in this one. If our opponent has a Marnie, that's fine. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11. So we actually, if our opponent Marnie, that's just a concession from our opponent, we managed to beat ADP, even though our chances were looking slim. And that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope all of you guys enjoyed. Please do remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Please remember to stay safe. And yeah, peace out.